Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Dark Dialogue Shadow Chat. Doesn't?
He's your host, John.
And we're not to that part yet. Before we dive into this week's collection of weird shit, conspiracy, rabbit holes, cryptids, haunted railroads, and Olympic-level criminal stupidity, we need to ask you for a quick favor. If you're listening right now and thinking, wow, these people should absolutely not be left unsupervised, the best way to supervise us is simple. Hit follow, hit subscribe, or smash whatever button your podcast platform provides that permanently attaches you to this circus. Leave a rating, preferably 5 stars. Like I say, if you want to leave a 1 star, that's fine. But please at least make the review entertaining so that we can read it dramatically on air and question your decision-making abilities.
And our life choices.
And we question those anyway. And be sure to share the show with a friend, specifically the one who thinks cryptids are just undiscovered wildlife, the one who sends conspiracy videos at 1:30 in the morning, or the one who still believes they could absolutely win a fight with a bear. Also, reviews genuinely help the show grow. Algorithms are strange little creatures, part math, part magic, and like most cryptids, they demand offerings. So, all right, now that we've performed the ritual sacrifice to the algorithm gods, let's get into the chaos. So, I'm your host, John.
No, he's your host, John. And I am resident to be named later.
You're not host?
I don't know. I'm Angela.
Did you resign without telling me?
No.
I gotta be in the loop on that shit.
I'm not sure you would allow it.
I definitely would not allow it. Psychotic, crazy woman talking that shit to me. Anyway. So,
it's good to know where you stand once in a while, so I have to test the waters.
You gonna try to quit?
No. Not right now.
Okay. All right.
Threw you for a loop, didn't I?
Well, I was just thinking about when Michael Scott quit.
You're gonna make me watch this show, aren't you? I'm not avoiding it on purpose, but he's gonna reference it enough that I'm gonna be like, fine. I have to know.
You haven't seen that episode either?
No, I'm sorry.
When Michael Scott quits Dunder Mifflin and then he's like trying to steal all their customers because during his 2-week notice period. So they tell him to get his ass out. And then he crawls back in and he's trying to drag people out by their office chairs so that they can come with him.
Go with him
to start the Michael Scott Paper Company.
No.
Which then leads into the bathroom office disco that we had to talk about.
Yeah, we did have to talk about that.
Yeah, all of this shit. All of it lines up. I'm not totally crazy.
I know you're not.
And I have a lot of Office references, apparently, which I didn't even realize, but they seem to pop up a lot.
Well, there is coming some time that I will be left unsupervised. Perhaps I will begin this Office arc.
It's a wonderful adventure.
I understand.
It is a wonderful adventure. I think one of the best shows ever made.
Do I need a passport?
Maybe.
I do not have one.
It would kind of be like when Michael Scott goes to the super special party for the ultra elite. And it's so special that he has to have a password to get into it. And Jim's like, that's an internet party. So, yeah, let's turn around. Yeah, it's kind of like that.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So there's secret handshakes, stuff I need to know.
Could be. Yeah, could be.
Okay, I'm coming to you.
All right. Apparently, I know a lot about The Office.
You do.
So, you ready for our strange headline segment?
I am.
The case of the shape-shifting frog officer. In December of 2025, police in Heber City, Utah were testing artificial intelligence software designed to automatically write police reports from body camera footage. During the test, the AI produced a report claiming that an officer at the scene had, quote, shape-shifted into a frog. The explanation turned out to be surprisingly mundane. The officer's body camera had picked up audio from Disney's The Princess and the Frog playing nearby. The AI transcription system mistakenly interpreted the movie dialogue as part of the real-world incident and wrote it into the official police report narrative.
I love this.
The Heber City Police were experimenting with 2 AI-powered report writing systems designed to help officers handle one of the most time-consuming parts of law enforcement, paperwork. Anyone who spent time around cops knows that writing reports can eat up a huge chunk of their shift. The promise of these tools is simple. Feed body camera footage into the system, and AI will generate a clean, structured police report that officers only need to review and edit. One of the systems being tested was Draft One, developed by Axon, the same company that produces tasers and body cameras widely used by police departments across the United States. This software listens to the audio and video from body camera footage and then produces a narrative report describing what happened. So during a test run, the AI produced a line that immediately caught everyone's attention. According to the report, the officer involved in the incident had, quote, shape-shifted into a frog. Naturally, the department does not employ amphibious law enforcement personnel. The bizarre line came from an unexpected source somewhere at the scene. Audio from the Disney film The Princess and the Frog was playing in the background. The system picked it up, and voila, we have a shape-shifting frog cop.
I think we've just cracked the mystery of Blind Frog Ranch.
I don't know what that is.
Okay.
Sorry.
Some people will.
Some people know what that is. I have no doubt about that. So in other words, AI essentially wrote a fairy tale police report.
I like it.
Heber City was also testing a second AI system called Code 4, developed by 2 young MIT dropouts. They're going to be freaking wealthy. It's crazy how that works. That program promises to automatically produce structured, timestamp reports and even analyze the tone and the sentiment of conversations captured on body cameras. In demonstration, the system can generate bilingual reports in English and in Spanish. However, even during controlled demos, the reports still required extensive human editing before they were considered usable. The frog incident quickly became a media story. Local station Fox 13 in Salt Lake City reported the error, and soon national outlets picked it up. The story spread across tech sites and legal publications as an example of what AI developers politely call hallucinations. When generative AI produces information that sounds confident but is completely wrong. The police department itself responded with humor. Officials joked publicly that they were not currently employing frog officers and emphasized that all AI-generated reports are reviewed and corrected by humans before becoming official documentation. But while the story is funny, technology experts and civil liberties advocates pointed out a more serious issue. This mistake was obvious. A frog cop is pretty easy to catch. But what happens when the error is subtle? Critics warn that AI systems used to generate official police documents could accidentally add or distort information in ways that are much harder to detect. If the system misinterprets audio and inserts something like a threat, a weapon, or a statement that never happened, that information could potentially become part of the official record unless someone happens to notice the error. Groups like Electronic Frontier Foundation have raised concerns that these systems are difficult to audit. It can be unclear which parts of the report were written by human officers and which parts were generated by AI. And in the courtroom, that distinction kind of becomes important because once something appears in an official police report, it can carry enormous weight in investigations, prosecutions, and testimony. I'm not even AI, and look at me screwing it up. In this case, the AI simply created the world's first fairy tale patrol officer, but it also illustrated a real problem. When machines start writing the paperwork that defines reality in the justice system, even small mistakes can ripple outward in unpredictable ways. My take? So let me get this straight. We are now using AI to write police reports, and the first thing it does is turn a cop into a Disney frog? Well, that's fantastic. I mean, honestly, this feels like the most accurate metaphor for AI in government that I have ever seen. You feed it real world data, it listens to some background noise, and suddenly the official record reads like a Brothers Grimm fever dream. Officer Smith arrived on the scene, attempted to detain the suspect, and then briefly transformed into an amphibian. Look, I actually understand why departments want this technology. Anyone who has done law enforcement paperwork knows that it could take hours and hours to write a solid report. But the idea that an algorithm is quietly drafting official police narratives is a little concerning.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it can hallucinate a frog, it can hallucinate other things too. And unlike a frog, those might not be all that funny.
Yeah.
They might be things like weapons, threats, statements that suddenly appear in the official story of what happened. And once something shows up in a police report, it has a funny way of becoming a fact.
Yeah.
So yeah, the frog officer is hilarious, but also a reminder that maybe we shouldn't let the robots write the crime scene fairy tales just yet. So if AI systems can hallucinate something this obvious, how many subtle errors might slip into reports without anyone noticing?
I don't even want to think about it. So many people are going to be in trouble for no reason.
You know, my personal opinion on this is the detail that you would have to read these over in order to ensure they're 100% right is going to take longer than if you just write the thing yourself.
I was thinking that exact thing while you were reading this.
I mean, giving away a little industry secret, I guess. I do like the dictate thing in Microsoft Word, and I pull up my podcast microphone and I just kick back and I write an episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I never have to type a thing like that. And I know if I like say, I just turned into a frog, I'm be like, wait, back, delete. I can fix that shit.
Yeah.
I mean, so there are ways that you can make it a lot better. And, you know, programs that that are used like in the medical community, at least I know that for a fact, like Dragon Naturally Speaking. No, they're not a sponsor, but it will take your money if you'll give it to us. They work really freaking well. And, you know, like doctors are the same way. They'll give you like, I mean, they have to write these.
Thank you.
Of course.
I needed that.
They have to write these long ass reports of everything they did. And where I kind of come into it was the mental health community, where the therapist that I was working with had to write like therapy notes. And so we were trying to find a system that would do that. That was years and years ago. And Dragon Naturally Speaking was a system then. It's still out there. I'm sure they've upgraded it a billion times since then. So it's probably like spot on. So shit like that makes it super easy. Why do we have to have it fake?
Yeah. Why are we faking it?
Yeah. I mean, I think with like the Dragon Naturally Speaking thing, I mean,
that's 3. So come on, guys.
Right. But, you know, I mean, with like the dictation software shit, the cops could probably do their shit while they're driving around on patrol. I mean, they're on the phone 95% of the time anyway. They might as well be working.
Just dictate the story while you're driving around.
So should AI-generated police reports have to clearly mark which sections were written by software versus a human officer?
Absolutely.
I think so. I don't think they should be allowed in court. Flat out, period. I don't want AI in a courtroom, period.
At all. Because we are going to end up killing a lot more innocent people.
I don't want that shit driving cars. No. I don't want that shit in courtrooms. I don't want that shit operating on people. I don't trust it, man. I do not trust it.
That was a terrifying thought.
Yeah, well, it's a thing, and I don't trust it.
I don't like it.
So at what point does automation in law enforcement become less about saving time and more about quietly rewriting reality?
Before it even started.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like any of this shit. I don't like the robot cops. I don't like the... I think I've made it clear. I don't like any of this shit, man. I have watched Predator. I have watched iRobot. I've watched Predator 1, 2, 3, 7, 9, 11, all of them.
57,000.
I've seen this. It's called Skynet. I know all about it. You ready for the conspiracy corner?
Yeah.
That's a nutso one. I'll do my best here. The lost people of New Zealand. Did someone live there before Maori? One long-running conspiracy theory claims that New Zealand, known in Maori, what's the little line above the letter supposed to mean? Not the squiggle line, the straight line.
It's just it's an accent mark, so it's just the way.
So this is
it's supposed to indicate how you pronounce that vowel.
So this is M-A with the little straight line above it, O-R-I. Maori? Maori.
I don't know.
Something like that. As
Maori? I don't.
Well, you can give this one a shot. A-O-Te-A-Ro-A.
I'm so sorry.
I made myself laugh with that one. A-O-T-E-A-R-O-A. And I got the pronunciation for that. And it is A-H-A-O-H-O-T-E-H Te A-H-A-R-O-H Ro A-H-A. So I think I had it right the first time. A-O-Te-A-Ro-A.
Aotearoa.
You're better at that than me, but yeah, something like that. Was inhabited by an earlier mysterious civilization before the arrival of the Polynesian ancestors of today's Maori. According to fringe theories, these lost inhabitants were Celts, Phoenicians, Europeans, or even a race of pale-skinned giants who built stone structures across the islands. Mainstream archaeology, however, says the evidence overwhelmingly points to a totally different story. The first people to settle New Zealand arrived from East Polynesia around 1250 to 1300 CE, becoming the ancestors of the Maori people. The conspiracy persists largely because of colonial myths, misunderstood geology, and the human love of imagining lost civilizations. According to modern archaeological research, the first humans arrived in I didn't get that pronunciation again.
Damn it, John.
A-O-Te-A-Ro-A. To modern, arrived there. They arrived in that place, surprisingly late compared with most inhabited parts of the world. Radiocarbon dating from hundreds of archaeological sites across the North and South Islands shows that settlement began around 1250 to 1275 CE when Polynesian voyagers arrived in large ocean-going canoes known as waka. Within just a few decades, people spread rapidly across both islands, establishing villages, hunting the giant flightless birds called moa, and reshaping the landscape. Genetic evidence, archaeological artifacts, and Maori oral histories all line up remarkably well with this timeline. In other words, the mainstream conclusion is pretty simple. There's no credible evidence of an earlier population living in New Zealand before the Polynesian settlers. But
Maori?
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. But that has not stopped the conspiracy theories. One of the biggest historical myths involved the Maori people. For many decades, New Zealand school textbooks taught that the Maori were an earlier primitive race who originally lived across mainland New Zealand. According to that story, they were later conquered and driven out by incoming Okay, this is really getting tough. So I've got the original people who were Moriori. They were driven out by the new people who are M-A with funny line O-R-I, eventually ending up in the remote Chatham Islands known as Rikuhu. Good God, what do I do this to myself for? Modern research has completely dismantled that narrative. Moriori are not as pre-Maori population. They are Polynesian people whose ancestors migrated from mainland New Zealand to the Chatham Islands around 1500 CE, where they developed their own distinct culture. The myth that they were a primitive earlier race was largely invented by 19th century European writers known in New Zealand as Pākehā, who used the story to justify colonialization. If Māori had already displaced another group, the logic went, then European settlement could be framed as just another step in a long chain of conquest. The myth stuck around for decades. Once the idea of a lost earlier civilization took hold, it opened the door for all sorts of alternative theories. Some fringe writers began claiming that ancient Europeans had reached New Zealand long way before Polynesian navigators. These theories often point to Kaimanawa, a stepped stone formation in the North Island that some insist is an ancient man-made structure. Geologists, however, say the formation is simply a natural rock outcrop made of some word I'm not even going to try, and volcanic rock.
That's got to be really bad then.
It's pretty bad. A volcanic rock formed roughly 330,000 years ago. Others point to unusual boulder formations near Auckland and claim that they were once part of the Celtic astronomical calendar system. These ideas sometimes link the structures to Māori stories about mysterious pale-skinned beings called Patu-pai-a-rihi, supernatural I'm telling you, that's what it is. Supernatural forest spirits in Maori folklore.
I'm trying to figure out what we're incanting in this room.
Who the hell even knows? We're incanting supernatural forest spirits.
Should we burn some sage?
Maybe. French theorists argue these beings were actually the descendants of a hidden ancient European population. Professional archaeologists reject these claims entirely. Most of the supposed evidence appears only in self-published books or non-peer-reviewed websites, but the story does not get genuinely interesting when you step away from conspiracy theories and look at the real achievements of the Polynesian navigators. One of the biggest clues involves kumara, the sweet potato. The plant originated in South America, but was already widespread in Polynesia centuries before Europeans arrived in the Pacific. Linguistic similarities between Polynesian and Andean words for the crop suggest that some kind of contact occurred between Polynesian sailors and South American cultures long before Columbus crossed the Atlantic. Exactly how that happened remains debated, but it highlights something pretty freaking remarkable. The ancestors of the Māori were not isolated castaways just drifting randomly across the ocean. They were extraordinary navigators, capable of sailing thousands of miles across the Pacific Ocean using stars, currents, wind patterns, and bird behavior. The real story of New Zealand's settlement may not involve lost Celtic kingdoms or ancient giants, but it does involve one of the most impressive feats of human exploration ever accomplished. My take? Every country gets to have their own conspiracy theories. Somewhere out there is always a guy with a YouTube channel insisting that the real history has been hidden and actually the ancient Celts or Vikings or Atlanteans were there first. And New Zealand is no exception. Apparently, according to the internet, the island was once full of mysterious pale-skinned giants who built stone walls, invented calendars, and then politely vanished before the Maori showed up, because of course they did. Now, the irony is that the actual history is already pretty freaking incredible. Polynesian navigators crossing thousands of miles of open ocean in wooden canoes using stars, wave patterns, and birds as navigation tools. They intentionally settled some of the most remote islands on the earth, but for some reason that story isn't exciting enough. So instead, we get the theory that ancient Europeans somehow sailed halfway around the world, built a few stone walls, and then disappeared without leaving behind tools, bones, villages, pottery, language traces, or literally anything else that archaeologists might normally find.
They were thinking that'll show them.
It's one hell of a disappearing act.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, the real hidden story isn't a lost white civilization. It's how often people underestimate just how sophisticated and skilled Polynesian exploration really was. Turns out the real history is cooler than the conspiracy. So why do conspiracy theories about lost civilizations show up in so many places around the world?
Because conspiracy theories are fun.
They are pretty fun.
They're fun.
But why does it have to be so wacky and crazy?
Because that makes them more believable, because it's harder to look up and prove wrong.
I mean, the Celts.
And it gives you fun things to pronounce.
And the Celts, oh, God, that was a tough one. But the Celts and the Vikings were pretty freaking incredible navigators in their own right.
Yeah.
And they were here. We know that they were here before Christopher Columbus. So I don't know, man. It's just amazing to think about these. I was watching this dude and he built an actual Viking ship, like exactly the way that they would do it and everything. And then he goes out and he navigates the way that they navigated. And
that sounds awesome.
It's impressive as shit, man. And to watch him and to understand how they did it and what they were doing. I mean, those ancient cultures, I don't care if they're Polynesian or Celts or I don't care. The way they did the shit that they did that makes us
fascinating.
You know, it's like the Egyptians building the pyramids and we're like, it had to be aliens because there's no possible way. Like the shit that mankind accomplished before the Industrial Revolution is really freaking impressive.
Yeah.
And, you know, the shit that we just come up with, like, you know, it's like, in researching my my Jennings 8 book, and I think I said this on another episode of something, I don't remember, but how like they discovered that the natives from like the Rocky Mountain region, like the Lakota tribe or the Cheyenne or something, they had a trade route that went all the way down into Louisiana. Louisiana's natives had a trade route that came all the way up and they like met and would sell like buffalo hides and trade them for alligator skins and shit like that. I mean, it's unreal. It's just crazy. It just blows my mind. I don't know. I'm a dork. So there's that.
Not.
So why do you think some people find the idea of ancient Europeans discovering places first more believable than the achievements of some other indigenous cultures?
I don't know. And I've been trying to figure that out for a while.
I don't know either, because there's a lot of shit about indigenous cultures that just makes so much more sense to me. It's like, you know, I've heard like Lakota medicine men and stuff talk about how stupid white people are because we dam up the rivers and stuff instead of just living beside them and just using them as they naturally are. And it's like, dude's got a really freaking good point. I got to say, it's a really good point. So if you had to sail across the Pacific using stars, wind, and birds as navigation tools, how far do you think you'd get before panic set in?
Probably not too far.
I mean, didn't you want to do it in that giant hamster ball thing that we talked about?
Oh, yes.
If you do that, you'll do anything.
Yeah, we'll see. If somebody's going to build me a Viking ship, like legit Viking ship, I'll try.
I'd do it.
You'd build me the ship or you'd go?
No, I'd go.
Okay.
You don't want me building a ship. I ain't a shipbuilder, so I don't think that.
Somebody build us a Dark Dialogue Viking ship.
It's a scale.
Yeah, to scale, please. And we will embark on this adventure.
Perfect. I'm game.
Okay.
You ready for the Reddit rabbit hole?
Sure thing. What is there to mispronounce in this one?
Not much. And it's an odd one to be in the Reddit rabbit hole, but it's a rabbit hole. So here we go. The Johnny Gosch case. The missing paperboy who may have come home. In 1982, 12-year-old Johnny Gosch vanished while delivering newspapers in West Des Moines, Iowa. Witnesses saw him shortly before he disappeared, but he was never found. His case became one of the most famous missing child investigations in America, and it helped launch the milk carton campaign for missing kids in the 1980s. But the real rabbit hole begins years later. Johnny's mother, Noreen Gosch, claims that her son was abducted by a child trafficking ring and that he secretly visited her as an adult in the 1990s. The claim, combined with alleged links to political scandals, trafficking networks, and possible government cover-ups has turned the case into one of Reddit's most debated true crime mysteries. On the morning of September the 5th, 1982, Johnny Gosch woke up early to deliver newspapers along his regular route in West Des Moines, Iowa. He was 12 years old. Several witnesses saw him that morning. One neighbor reported seeing a suspicious man sitting in a car talking to Johnny while he was picking up his bundle of newspapers. Another person later reported seeing Johnny speaking to a different man near a parked vehicle. Then he disappeared. When Johnny didn't return home, his parents quickly began searching the neighborhood. They found his little red wagon, which he used to carry his newspapers in, along with his rubber bands that were scattered along the route. His dog was nearby, but Johnny was gone. At first, police treated the situation as a possible runaway. That early assumption frustrated Johnny's family and delayed the urgency of the investigation. Eventually, authorities acknowledged that Johnny had almost certainly been abducted. Despite witness reports and years of investigation, no one has ever been arrested in connection with the case. Johnny Gosch became one of the first children featured in the Milk Carton Kids campaign, where missing children photos were printed on milk cartons across the United States in an effort to generate tips. But as time passed without answers, Johnny's mother, Noreen Gosch, began conducting her own investigation. Over the years, she came to believe that her son had been abducted by a child sex trafficking network operating across multiple states. According to her claims, investigators she hired uncovered evidence that Johnny had been transported through a trafficking pipeline used to exploit children. She also said there were sightings of Johnny after the abduction. One alleged sighting occurred months later in Tulsa, Oklahoma, when witnesses claimed a boy yelled for help from inside a car before being forced away by men. But the most controversial claim came years later. Noreen has reportedly stated that Johnny visited her in the early 1990s when he would have been in his early 20s. According to her account, Johnny arrived at her apartment late at night, accompanied by another man. She says they talked for about an hour and that Johnny told her that he had been abducted into a trafficking network and was still under the control of dangerous people. She says he told her that it wasn't safe for him to come home permanently, and then he left. No one else witnessed the visit. There are no photographs, recordings, or independent verification of the encounter. Law enforcement has never confirmed that it happened. The story, however, became a central piece of the larger conspiracy narrative around the case. In 2006, Noreen reported receiving disturbing photographs left on her doorstep. The images showed young boys bound and gagged.
Yeah.
She believed one of the children in the photos was Johnny. Investigators later suggested that at least some of the photos had already circulated online in known child abuse cases and were not uniquely connected to Johnny. But the rabbit hole gets even deeper. Some writers and internet investigators believe that Johnny's disappearance may be connected to the Franklin Credit Union scandal. I do. A real financial and political controversy from Nebraska in the late 1980s that later became tangled in allegations of elite child trafficking rings. A man by the name of Paul Bonacci, who claimed to be a trafficking victim tied to that scandal, testified that he had been trafficked alongside Johnny Gosch and that they were used by powerful individuals. Bonacci's credibility has been widely debated. His testimony changed over time, and his statements emerged during the broader satanic panic era of the 1980s and the early 1990s, when sensational claims about secret ritual abuse networks spread across the country. However, Bonacci later won a civil lawsuit connected to abuse allegations involving individuals tied to the Franklin scandal. For conspiracy theorists, that legal outcome has often been cited as indirect validation that something larger was happening. I'm totally a conspiracy theorist on this one. Today, discussions about Johnny Gosch online, especially on Reddit forums like R Unsolved Mysteries, tend to fall into one of three camps. Some believe Noreen Gosch completely. They think Johnny survived his abduction and briefly returned to see his mother before disappearing again for his own safety. Others believe Noreen genuinely thinks that the visit happened, but they suspect that she may have been manipulated, hoaxed, or misled by someone who knew her story. And a third group believes the visit never occurred at all, that it's a tragic example of how decades of grief and unanswered questions can reshape memories and narratives. The official case file, meanwhile, remains simple and unresolved. Johnny Gosch disappeared in 1982, and no one knows what happened to him. My take? This case is one of those stories where the deeper you go, the murkier it gets. At the center of it is something incredibly simple and incredibly tragic. A 12-year-old kid delivering newspapers who never came home. And that part is not that big of a mystery. It happened. Mm-hmm. And law enforcement in the early 1980s was frankly terrible at handling missing children cases. A lot of families were told their kids were runaways when they clearly weren't. Like, I'm going to take my little red wagon out with all my papers and run away and leave my dog and all my... Yeah. It's the dumbest shit you ever heard of. Yeah. So when people look back...
I'm going to do my paper route before I run away.
I'm a very responsible runaway. Yeah. I got to take care of my responsibilities first. So when people look back and see mistakes, delays, and sloppy investigations, it does create a vacuum. And into that vacuum pours speculation. Some of it's reasonable, some of it's not, because here's the thing. Large-scale trafficking networks exist. That's not a conspiracy theory. That is documented reality.
Yeah.
I don't know if this all fits into that. Like I said, I believe that it does.
You know what I'm going to say?
We'll get there. But once a story reaches that level, it really doesn't matter because it becomes very difficult to separate grief, possibility, rumor, and evidence. The claim that Johnny came home one night and spoke to his mother is one of the most haunting details of the entire case, because if it's true, it's terrifying. And if it isn't, it's heartbreaking. Mm-hmm. Either way, the tragedy remains the same. A 12-year-old boy vanished on a quiet Sunday morning. And more than 40 years later, nobody knows where he is.
Yeah.
So hit me with it. Thoughts on the case?
Oh, you don't know what immediately went through my brain?
I know exactly what went through your brain.
What?
You want me? Epstein.
Yep.
We're right in the middle of the whole Epstein shit right now.
Epstein files.
Yep.
No, it might be unpopular. I want it to be true that he visited her and then disappeared for his and her safety, just so she can feel like he's still alive.
Yeah, I mean, how do I frame this? I in no way want to take away something like that from a mother. Mm-hmm. Like, if it happened, I think it's wonderful and tragic all at the same time.
Yeah.
I personally don't believe it was him. I just think it's unlikely. I think it's unlikely that a trafficking victim
got out
and then went back. You know what I mean? Like they
no, I get that.
Didn't have enough control that they could go visit their mom, but yet they have enough control that they can get them back in. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I just don't know. I do know that
after a certain age in trafficking, they don't want them anymore.
Sadly. I mean, that's 100% true.
I mean, the word "sadly" is not.
I mean,
there's not a word that describes.
There is nothing that describes this shit that goes on. Mm-mm. I am one that firmly believes a lot of the missing children, at least from the 80s and the 90s, possibly now, were part of a larger trafficking ring.
And are now probably overseas.
They're probably dead.
Well, yeah.
I mean, they're
not.
That's a sad reality. That's a sad reality to piggyback onto what you said is when they outlive their usefulness, they don't just get to go home.
Yeah.
They just disappear.
Yeah. Unless they become useful by
in some other
grooming.
way. Yeah. In some other way. But so why do unsolved cases like Johnny Gosch's tend to grow larger conspiracy theories over time?
Because people are still trying to figure it out.
Yeah. His is very unique because you don't see this in a lot. There's a lot of the cases that I've looked into that I think this might definitely fit, but you don't see it like publicly.
Yeah.
There's a ton of missing children, but you don't hear this conversation widely. And if you do, we're a bunch of whack jobs.
Yeah.
And then the Epstein shit starts to come out, and it's like, how many freaking conspiracy theories do I got to prove are right before you start believing me? Because some of us have been saying some of this shit for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And we've been called nuts for it. And now it's like everybody's on board. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, now you come around?
Yeah. Now you want my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you want all my information.
So how much responsibility does early investigative failure carry in allowing conspiracy theories to grow around real cases?
A lot.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at cases from, it's like John Wayne Gacy, 33 victims at least, right? And the vast majority of them were told they had to be gone at least 72 hours. We won't even talk to you. I mean, it was just the rule.
Just let them be gone long enough to be dead before we'll look.
It has to be 72 hours. And I understand why that happened. It's not necessarily a slight on law enforcement, because we've talked about it before, I think on Rocky Mountain Reckoning, when we were talking about how many kids were running away from home and hitchhiking across the United States beginning in the mid 60s throughout the 70s and 80s. It's a shit ton. Yeah. So when cops are like, they're probably a runaway, they probably were, the vast majority of them. But then you get into these cases like Johnny Gosch, and it's like, are you brain dead? Like, how could you think this kid was a runaway? Seriously. Yeah. It just doesn't fit.
After his paper route, like I said.
And so I think we've come to a place where law enforcement analyzes each case on a case-by-case basis instead of making these stupid global rules that say, doesn't matter who it is. Yeah. If it's a 9-month-old baby, we got to wait 72 hours because they maybe decided to run away. I mean, It wasn't quite that insane, but it was pretty close to that insane.
Packed my pacifiers, now I'm out of here.
Exactly. So I think we've kind of got away from that. And now we're like, Amber Alert. Okay, we touch that shit off. And if it comes back that it was unnecessary, fine. We're fine with that.
I'd rather it be unnecessary than not at all.
Yeah. And I think that they've got a lot of the shit in place and stuff that doesn't happen, because you don't want it to happen a lot, because then people start ignoring it. Like, It almost never happens. When you get an Amber Alert, like, that person is missing, and a lot of the times they're found because of that Amber Alert.
Yeah.
I don't have the statistics for how many lives that thing has saved, but it's a lot of lives. I can tell you that.
And my phone is loud when you get one of those.
Oh, shit.
So immediately you're like, okay, I'll be on the lookout now.
Or if you're like in Walmart or some public place and the whole freaking store, because every phone in the whole place starts going crazy.
Echoes across the land. Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty freaking awesome. All right, so you ready to get into something a little bit more lighthearted? A
little bit, yeah.
Dipshit Diaries?
Sure thing.
Dipshit Diaries.
I had to do the dance for you because you didn't do it.
In 2012, Afghan Taliban commander Mohammed Ashan was on a wanted poster offering a $100 reward for information leading to his capture. Instead of hiding from authorities, Ashan reportedly walked into a police checkpoint holding the poster, pointed to his own face, and asked officers if he could collect the reward money for turning himself in. The biometric scan confirmed it was indeed him. He was immediately arrested. The reward, not surprisingly, was not paid out.
Yeah.
So coalition forces operating in Afghanistan had placed Mohammed Ashan, a Taliban commander in Paktika province, on a wanted list. Ashan was allegedly responsible for coordinating multiple attacks involving improvised explosive devices, commonly known as IEDs. These types of roadside bombs were responsible for a significant number of coalition and Afghan military casualties during the war. So to help capture this total asshat, authorities distributed wanted posters throughout the region, offering a $100 reward for information leading to his arrest. The posters included Ashan's photograph. Apparently, he saw one of them And instead of doing what most wanted fugitives do, like disappearing into the mountains, he decided to take a different approach. According to U.S. soldiers stationed in the area, this dipshit walked up to the Afghan police checkpoint holding the poster. He pointed to his image, and then he asked for the reward. U.S. Army Specialist Matthew Baker, who was present when Ashan arrived, later described the interaction. Baker reportedly asked him a very basic question. Is this you? Ashan enthusiastically responded, yes, that's me. Can I get the reward now? And at that point, the soldiers ran a biometric scan using coalition databases that tracked fingerprints, iris scans, and other identifying data collected during operations. Like, these kind of people can ID you. Yeah. There's no mistake about IDs. The system confirmed what everyone was already beginning to suspect. The man asking for the reward was the wanted Taliban commander. Instead of receiving $100, he was immediately detained and taken into custody. Officials later commented on the incident with remarkable bluntness. The U.S. officials told reporters, clearly this man is an imbecile.
Right?
And the quote has followed the story ever since. The incident quickly spread through international news outlets and military circles as one of the most bizarre self-arrests in any modern conflict. It also became a staple of the world's dumbest criminals list because very few fugitives in history have literally delivered themselves to police while requesting their own bounty payment. My take? Look, I have questions. First of all, imagine being the soldier standing at that checkpoint. Some guy walks up holding a wanted poster with his own face on it, and he's basically like, hi, I'd like to turn this guy in. And the soldier's like, sir, that's you. And he goes, yes, correct. Precisely. Now, where's my $100?
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, maybe he thought it worked like a grocery store coupon, turn in one Taliban commander, receive $100. But the real tragedy here is that somewhere someone had to explain to this man that the reward is not for self-referrals. And honestly, if you're dumb enough to turn yourself in for your own bounty, you may actually be too dumb to successfully run a terrorist operation in the first place. So in a weird way, this might be the most efficient arrest in modern military history. No investigation, no surveillance, no stakeout. The guy just walked in and said, hello, I'm the problem. So
it's me. Give me my $100.
Do you think he genuinely thought that he could claim the reward, or was he trying some kind of bizarre negotiation tactic?
From the sounds of it, I think he genuinely thought he was going to get $100.
I think so.
But I don't know what he thought he was walking away afterwards.
I got nothing. See? What's the dumbest criminal story you've ever heard that made you question humanity for a minute? This one definitely does for me.
It's up there. I still, every time you say it, I go back to the guys who drew their own. That's a disguise with Sharpies.
Definitely a favorite of mine. Mm-hmm. So if there were a self-arrest Hall of Fame, where would this one rank?
He'd be up there.
He'd definitely be up there.
Yeah.
All right, you ready for Dipshit Diaries number 2?
Yes.
The fugitive who argued with the sheriff on Facebook. In 2012, the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office in Alabama posted a wanted fugitive named Dustin McCombs as their, quote, creep of the week on Facebook. Instead of laying low, McCombs jumped into the comment section himself, arguing with the police, insisting the accusations were false, and proudly announcing that he had moved out of state. Unfortunately for him, arrest warrants come with nationwide extradition.
Yeah.
So within weeks, McCombs was arrested in Ohio. So the details.
At a Waffle House?
Probably. January 2012, the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office in Alabama started a feature on their Facebook page called Creep of the Week. The concept was simple. Highlight a wanted suspect, post their mugshot, and hope someone recognizes them and calls in a tip. 1 week's feature suspect was Dustin McCombs, who had an active warrant for rape. The sheriff's office posted his mugshot along with a note that he was wanted and encouraged the public to report information about his whereabouts. Pretty standard stuff, except McCombs saw the post. Instead of ignoring it or maybe quietly contacting a lawyer, he decided to jump into the comment section and start arguing with the sheriff's office. Right there, in public, on their own Facebook page. McCombs complained about being called a creep, claimed the accusations were false, and accused the department of defamation. Then he added a line that probably seemed like a brilliant mic drop moment at the time. He wrote something along the lines of, "Good thing I moved out of the state." The sheriff's office...
You'll never catch me.
The sheriff's office responded with the digital equivalent of a slow, patient sigh. They politely reminded him that the warrant included nationwide extradition, meaning if he was arrested anywhere in the United States, he could be transported back to Alabama. They also suggested, very politely, that he might want to stop talking and consider exercising his right to remain silent. But McCombs did not take the hint. Instead, he kept arguing back and forth with the police in the comments section.
I love it.
Of a post about his own arrest warrant. The exchange went viral, spread across news outlets and social media as a perfect example of criminals who probably should not be posting online. And a few weeks later, in February of 2012, this dipshit was arrested in Ohio. Authorities noted that the viral Facebook argument had kept his case circulating widely online, making it way easier for people to recognize him and to report his location. So in other words, he basically helped advertise his own arrest. My take? There is a rule in life that applies to almost everything. And that rule is this: never argue with the police in the comment section of your own Facebook page. That's just a bad idea. Imagine seeing your mugshot online with an arrest warrant attached and thinking, you know what would fix this situation? A Facebook debate. And the best part is when he proudly says, "Good thing I moved out of the state," like he just discovered the one loophole that law enforcement had never considered before. Oh, shit. He crossed state lines. He found our weakness. Meanwhile,
we'll never get him now.
Meanwhile, the sheriff's office is basically replying like a parent dealing with a stubborn toddler. Sir, warrants work everywhere, and the entire internet is watching this happen in real time. Honestly, if you're a fugitive, the smartest thing you can do is probably not log into social media at all, because the second that you start arguing with the sheriff's office online, you've already lost. So... why do so many criminals seem incapable of staying off social media while they're actively being searched for by the police?
The word, I had it. Did you see my face?
Shit, I saw your face,
and
but
then it left.
I mean, it's amazing to me. It is amazing to me. I'm very grateful for social media because it catches so many of these asshats.
I love it.
So if you saw your own mugshot posted by a sheriff's department, what would be the absolute worst possible response that you could post in the comments?
My new address is...
Right? I mean,
please forward all mail to...
If I saw my own mugshot posted on the sheriff's department website, first of all, it's definitely not going to be for something like rape. So it'd be like, hi, this is where I'm at. We need to talk. I got to figure out what the hell's going on here. So... I mean,
how dare you call me a creep?
It wasn't like it was shoplifting. It was rape. Like shoplifting, maybe you move out of the state. They're not going to extradite you. But rape? Oh, you're coming home, buddy. It don't matter where in the hell you're at.
Yeah. Oy vey.
Do you think that police departments posting wanted suspects on social media actually help solve cases? Or does it sometimes just turn investigations into internet entertainment?
I think both.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't
like to say both when you ask these things, but I genuinely think both.
I agree, but I don't think there's a downside to it being internet entertainment.
No.
Because it spreads the story. And usually the police department or sheriff's office, whatever, they don't even have to get involved. They just let it take care of itself.
Yeah.
It's only dipshits like this that, I mean, they did the same thing with, I don't know, there's been a few stories with like the whole ICE thing and and then people are posting like, I dare you to come and get me or something. And
then they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the one was pretty funny because it was like, we're actually in the parking lot. We'll be there in a minute.
Yeah.
So it's just like, if you're running from law, I don't give a shit what law it is.
Put the kettle on. We're on our way.
Yeah. And arrogance just kills everything.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You ready for Dipshit Diaries number 3?
Yes.
The burglar who logged into Facebook during the crime. In 2009, 19-year-old Jonathan G. Parker broke into a home in Martinsburg, West Virginia, and stole 2 diamond rings worth more than $3,500. While inside the house, Parker made a decision that would quickly land him on the world's dumbest criminals list. He sat down at the victim's computer and he logged into his Facebook account and he left the scene without logging out. Police didn't have to do a whole hell of a lot of detective work after that. So like I said, the burglary happened in 2009 in a quiet neighborhood outside Martinsburg, West Virginia. And according to investigators, 19-year-old Jonathan Parker broke into a woman's home during the daytime while she was away. Inside the house, he stole 2 diamond rings valued at more than $3,500. So far, unfortunately, that's a pretty typical burglary. But then Parker apparently decided to take a break from committing felonies and check his social media. While still inside the victim's home, he sat down at her computer and he logged into his Facebook account. Why? No one really knows. Maybe he needed to check his notifications. Maybe he wanted to update his status to currently committing burglary. Maybe he just couldn't go more than 10 minutes without seeing what people were doing online. Whatever the reason, he logged in and then he left the house without logging out. When the homeowner returned, she quickly realized that the rings were missing, but then she noticed something else. Her computer screen was still open and a Facebook profile was logged in that she didn't recognize. So instead of closing it, she did something far more useful. She wrote down the name of the account and gave it to the police. Authorities traced the Facebook profile directly back to this dipshit. And just to make the case even easier, investigators discovered that Parker had asked a friend the night before if they wanted to help him break into that exact house. So not only did he log into Facebook during the burglary, he also discussed the burglary in advance.
Premeditation much?
Parker was obviously arrested and charged with felony daytime burglary. Bail was set at $10,000. And the charge carried the possibility of up to 10 years in prison. The story quickly spread across tech and news outlets where Parker earned a new nickname, the Facebook burglar.
Yes.
My take? Criminals used to leave fingerprints at crime scenes. Now they leave social media accounts. Imagine breaking into somebody's house, committing a felony, stealing the jewelry, and thinking, hold on a second, I got to check my Facebook. What notification could possibly be that important? Hey, man, you coming to the barbecue later? Hang on, bro, I'm mid-burglary. And the best part is he didn't even log out. That's like robbing a bank and then leaving your driver's license on the counter. Honestly, the homeowner didn't even need the police at that point. She basically solved the case herself. Let's see. Rings are gone. Computer's logged into Facebook. Burglar's name is Jonathan. Case closed. At that point, I'm convinced half of modern criminal investigations are just detectives saying, did you check their Facebook?
Yeah. He posted on Marketplace that he had these rings for sale and he just wanted to make sure if anybody wanted them before he left.
I'm sure you're probably right. I mean, I ask these questions every time and I got to come up with better questions because it's getting impossible. Like, what's the dumbest thing you've ever heard of? But
yeah,
it's just a list. It's like a snowball. So do you think social media has actually made criminals easier to catch than they were, say, 20 or 30 years ago?
Definitely some.
Yeah, I think so. Or it just really shows how dumb they are, but arrogance. Now they can do it so publicly.
Yeah. Wow. Just wow.
Because there's always been dumb criminals, but it used to be that they were only within their own little circle and they were all a bunch of dipshit criminals.
Yeah.
Now they're exposed to the whole world. And so it's like, it just makes it so much easier. If you were committing a crime, which obviously it wouldn't be, but what is the absolute last app that you should open during that?
I don't even think you should open your phone.
I don't think you should take your phone.
There you go.
It blows my mind how many true crime cases we do, and thank God for it. Don't get me wrong. But I think this to myself all the time because I'm watching true crime. I'm researching true crime. I live true crime. And I think at least once a day, usually multiple times a day, are you that attached to your phone that you can't leave it to commit a murder? Like,
yeah,
you can't get away from your phone for an hour?
It's going to tell on you.
It just, I don't know. So, in another episode of words that John cannot pronounce, you ready for our weird shit section?
I love these episodes.
Weird shit.
Seljordsormen, Norway's lake monster, who has a nickname which I'm very thankful for, and that is Selma.
Aww.
Deep in a glacial lake in southern Norway, locals say a massive serpent-like creature has been swimming around for centuries. The cryptid is called Selma. Seljordsormen. And
is it Nessie's cousin?
Do you want me to spell it?
No. Well, yeah, because I want to see it.
Look up Selma because it's going to be easier, but you spell it Seljordsormen, which literally means the Sjord serpent. Most people just call it Selma. Sightings describe a huge snake-like creature, 30 to 65 feet long, moving through the water in looping humps, similar to Scotland's Loch Ness Monster. Yeah. The legend is so embedded in local culture that Sjord's official coat of arms even features the creature. Whether Selma is a real unknown animal or just Norway's most charming tourist mascot remains a mystery. The legend of Seljordsormen centers around Lake Seljord. I'm not very good at this, but I'm doing my best. Known locally as Seljordsvatnet, the lake sits in Telemark County in southern Norway and stretches about 13 kilometers long through a dramatic glacial valley surrounded by forested mountains. For hundreds of years, locals have claimed something large lives in its depths. Descriptions of the creature vary, but the general image is remarkably consistent. A long, serpentine body moving through the water in a series of humps or loops. Witnesses often say that the creature is dark green or black and anywhere from 10 to 20 meters or roughly 30 to 65 feet in length. That's roughly the length of a city bus. Written reports of the creature date back to at least 1750, when early accounts described a massive snake-like animal rising from the lake and threatening boats. One of the most dramatic stories supposedly occurred in 1880. According to local legend, a man named Bjorn Bjornge and his mother encountered the creature while traveling near the lake. The story claims that the serpent attacked their boat and Bjorn managed to cut it in half. The front half allegedly washed ashore and rotted away, while the back half escaped back into the lake, which, if true, suggests Sjord may be dealing with a regenerating lake monster, which is a whole nother problem. By the early 1900s, sightings began describing something even stranger. Several witnesses reported seeing a horse-like head or on a long neck rising from the water before slowly sinking back beneath the surface. If that description sounds familiar, it's because it mirrors classic European sea serpent lore and the famous Loch Ness Monster reports. In modern times, the legend hasn't faded. Instead, the town of Sjord has fully embraced it. There are designated viewing areas around the lake, including a structure called the Sea Serpent Tower, where visitors can sit and watch the water for unusual disturbances. Boat tours and walking trails even advertise the chance to hunt for Selma. The monster is now such a symbol of the region that when Sjord received its official municipal coat of arms in 1989, the emblem included a stylized sea serpent. Yes, the town's official government logo is basically a lake monster. And of course, cryptozoologists have tried to prove that the creature exists. One group, called the Global Underwater Search Team, led by researcher Jan av Sundberg, conducted sonar scans and underwater listening surveys of the lake. They even built something called a comet trap, a giant underwater trap designed specifically to capture a monster eel. The expeditions produced sonar readings and blurry underwater anomalies, but no physical evidence, no bones, no captured creature, and no confirmed giant serpent. Still, sightings continue to this day. Fishermen occasionally report seeing long shapes gliding beneath the water, and visitors sometimes claim to see strange humps moving across the lake surface. Whether those are giant animals or just clever illusions of waves and wakes remains part of the mystery. My take? I love local Nessie cryptids because every country seems to have one lake where the official town policy is basically, yes, we have a monster, please buy the souvenirs.
Yep.
And honestly, Sjord has fully committed. They didn't just tell stories about the creature. They put him on their city logo. That's confidence. Imagine if your town did that. Welcome to Cody, Wyoming. Population of 10,000. Official mascot? Possibly a giant swamp demon.
Yeah.
Now, skeptics say that the sightings
it's the Newton Lake monster.
It's right. Now, skeptics say that the sightings are probably just boat wakes, swimming deer, or big fish, but cryptozoologists argue it might be giant eels, which honestly might be worse because a 40-foot eel living in a cold Norwegian lake sounds like something straight out of a horror movie. Either way, if you visit Norway and someone invites you out on Lake Sjord, maybe just sit near the edge of the boat just in case Selma decides that she's hungry.
So some of the pictures I'm seeing look like a cross between Puff the Magic Dragon and those things that come out of the mouths of Tremors, the movie Tremors.
Oh, yeah. The graboids.
It's like, yes, if they had a baby, that's what this would be.
Interesting.
That's what it looks like to me.
So if a giant lake monster actually exists in Sjord, do you think it could stay hidden for centuries?
No, and Loch Ness Monster has, kind of.
That's the struggle that I have with these.
For those of you who didn't hear that, John rolled his eyes.
Big time, yeah. I don't believe these lake monster things at all. At all. I don't know anything about Lake Sjord. I know that Loch Ness is like uninhabitable. Like nothing lives in that thing. There's nothing to eat. Unless he eats like logs that have fallen in. I don't believe in Nessie. So why do so many cultures around the world have legends about giant serpents or lake monsters?
To keep kids out of the lake.
I have to wonder if that's part of it. If it's an urban legend that became a cryptid.
It's to keep people out of the lake.
If you were running the tourism board for a town with a monster legend, would you lean into it the way that Sjord has?
Yes.
Man, me too. 100%.
There would be statues. There would be hats. There would, yes.
100%. Yep. All right, you ready for weird shit number 2?
Yes.
The paranormal section. The Smurl haunting. Heard of this one?
Nope.
It's the demon case behind The Conjuring. In the late 1970s and 1980s, a working-class Catholic family in West Pittston, Pennsylvania, claimed their house was under attack by a powerful demonic entity. Over more than a decade, the Smurl family reported violent poltergeist activity, physical assaults, foul odors, and even alleged sexual attacks by unseen forces. The case eventually drew the attention of famous paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, who declared the house infested by multiple spirits, including a demon controlling the others. Skeptics, however, argue that the entire case may have been driven by stress, illness, and media hype. Today, the story lives as one of the inspirations behind the Conjuring film series. So the story begins in 1973 when Jack and Janet Smurl moved into a duplex on Chase Street in West Pittston, Pennsylvania. Their previous home had been severely damaged by Hurricane Agnes, and Chase Street and the Chase Street house seemed like a chance to start over. The duplex was old, around 80 years at the time, and it needed significant repairs. The Smurls lived in one half with their daughters, while Jack's parents occupied the other side. At first, things were normal. Then strange things began happening. The family reported loud knocking sounds, footsteps in empty rooms, and appliances turning on and off by themselves. A strange rotting smell would occasionally fill parts of the house before suddenly disappearing. What was that face for?
The dog.
These are classic haunting reports, but according to the Smurls, the activity escalated dramatically. They said furniture began shaking violently. Their dog was allegedly thrown against a wall by an unseen force.
See, pouty face.
And one daughter reportedly claimed that she was pushed down the stairs by something invisible. Then the story took an even darker turn. Jack Smurl later claimed that he was physically and sexually assaulted by an unseen entity, describing the attacks as something that held him down while he slept. Another alleged incident involved a daughter experiencing a similar attack. The family contacted local Catholic clergy, hoping that the church would intervene. Several priests visited the home and performed blessings, but the church reportedly hesitated to label the situation as a true demonic case. In 1986, the Smurls contacted the most famous paranormal investigators in America, Ed and Lorraine Warren. If those names sound familiar, it's because the Warrens later became the central figures behind the Conjuring franchise. Lorraine Warren claimed to be clairvoyant, while Ed Warren described himself as a demonologist. After investigating the home for months, the Warrens announced that they had identified 4 entities haunting the house. According to them, one was the spirit of an elderly woman, another was a young girl who could be violent, a third was the ghost of a man who had suffered and died in the home, and controlling all of them was a demon. The Warrens claimed that during their investigation, they witnessed objects moving on their own, sudden temperature drops, a loud knocking sound coming from the walls. They also said messages like "get out" appeared on mirrors during prayer sessions. Attempts at exorcisms were reportedly performed, but the Smurls said the activity continued. In 1986, the family went public. They appeared on national television programs like Larry King Live and Entertainment Tonight, turning the case into a media sensation. Their story was turned into a book called The Haunted, One Family's Nightmare, and later adapted into a 1991 television movie called The Haunted. Today, the case is resurfacing again because of the upcoming film, The Conjuring: Last Rites, which draws heavily from the Smurl story. But skeptics have long raised serious questions. Investigators from the Committee for the Scientific Investigation of Claims of the Paranormal, good God, that's a long name, often called CSICOP, examined the case and concluded there was no verifiable physical evidence of supernatural activity. Some researchers also pointed to Jack Smurl's medical history. He reportedly suffered from meningitis early in life and later had surgery for fluid on the brain, which critics argue may have contributed to memory or perception issues. Other explanations suggested that the events could have been the result of stress, suggestion, or even misrepresentation of ordinary household noises. And there's one detail skeptics love to point out. After the Smurl family moved out in 1988, the next resident reportedly lived in the house without experiencing any paranormal activity at all. Today, the building still stands quietly in a normal residential neighborhood. No demons, no flying furniture, just another duplex on a Pennsylvania street. My take? Now, this is one of those cases where you have to keep 2 things in your head at the same time. On one hand, the Smurl family clearly believed something was happening in that house. They stuck to their story for decades, even when the media attention faded. But on the other hand, every time the Warrens show up in a paranormal case, the volume knob immediately goes from weird noises in the walls to 4 ghosts and a demon commander. That escalation happens fast. And the reality is the Warrens were incredibly good at turning haunting cases into national spectacles, which is why half of their cases are now Hollywood movies. How do haunted houses now? Do haunted houses exist? Who knows? But if I start smelling sulfur in my house, hearing voices and seeing mirrors write "get out" on themselves, I'm not calling a demonologist. I'm moving my ass out immediately, because if there's a demon living in your house, the one thing that you should not do is stay there long enough to write a book about it. So, do you think cases like the Smurl hauntings are genuine paranormal events, psychological stress, or something in between?
I think it's a mix of all of it. I think it starts out as genuine paranormal, because you know how I feel about paranormal, and the stress just makes it worse.
Yeah. How do I want to answer this?
You crazy person on the other side of the desk.
No, I don't feel that way at all. I feel like I think some are legitimate and some are bullshit. And I think I cannot globally say all of these haunting stories are true, and I can't say all of these haunting stories are bullshit. I do believe in demons, and I do believe in some of these, like, I believe in, like, the exorcism of Emily Rose case. Mm-hmm. Like, shit like that. That's legit unexplained. I believe in the paranormal. I've seen shit that'll turn you green. So don't even try to tell me it's not real.
Yeah.
But then there's other cases where I'm just like, bullshit. I think it's bullshit. And some of Warren's cases I think are bullshit. And believe me, I've read a ton of their stuff and genuinely think that they were good people who were trying to help people. Yeah. I really do. And I think that they did legitimately help a lot of people.
Yeah.
I also think that they sensationalized a lot of these stories. Yeah. So brings me to question number 2. The Warrens appear in many famous haunting stories. Do you think that they were legitimate investigators or expert storytellers, or a combination of the two?
I think a combination of the two. And their nephew, John Zaffis, is amazing. I love him.
I don't know anything about him, but
he does paranormal investigation too.
You know, I think some of both. I don't believe Amityville Horror bullshit for one freaking second. I think that DeFeo kid, what the frick is his name?
Ronnie
DeFeo was a murdering, spoiled little piece of shit that killed his family. I don't know if the sister was involved, but I know that he was. I don't think the devil made him do it. And I think that the DeFeos, I don't know what to think about the DeFeos. I think the DeFeos were creeped out by that story. And was there something happening with the DeFeos? I don't know. The fact that they just walked away and left all their furniture and everything is pretty convincing.
You don't mean
I don't mean the DeFeos, because
yes.
I mean the next ones.
Yeah.
Yes. Shit.
It's there. It's right there.
Yeah, it's right freaking there at the tip of my tongue. I need to watch that movie again.
No.
The newer one. I think they did a really good job with that, with the dude from Mint Mobile.
The Mint Mobile guy?
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, that's the dude.
Lutz.
The Lutzes, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about the Lutzes. I really don't. But I do believe that the whole DeFeo haunting, creating murder, was absolute bullshit. But if you believe that your house was haunted, what would you do first? Call a priest, call investigators, or pack a bag and leave?
It's tough for me.
For me, it's not that tough, but I have to make a distinction, because I do believe in the difference between a haunting and a possession,
yeah,
or an infestation, or whatever you want to call it. like a haunting, like a run-of-the-mill ghost that, I don't know, you catch him out of the corner of your eyes. Sometimes he walks by.
Shadow people.
That shit, or even if like you see him, because I have seen ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you're like, okay, well, cool. Like, they're no harm to you. They probably don't even know you're there. And that shit doesn't really bother me. I could easily live with them. I have. And just like weird stuff happening, like objects getting moved and stuff, doesn't really affect me, doesn't freak me out, doesn't scare me. Poltergeist, demons, whole nother ball game. My ass is out of there. Like, I might be jumping out the window. I don't even know if I would pack a bag. I'm leaving. I don't want that shit attached to me. I don't want it following me. I don't want any freaking part of it. I'm out.
That's true.
Nope.
Very
I believe in the exorcism of Emily Rose. I don't want to be there. I don't want to do that shit. Nope. I'm gone.
I agree. I agree with that.
Did I leave any questions?
No.
Because I'm trying to be clear here.
No, I'm pretty aware of your stance on the subject. Yeah.
All right. You ready for weird shit number 3?
Yeah.
The mystery.
The mystery?
The unbreakable code in a dead man's pocket.
Dun, dun, dun.
In 1999, the body of Ricky McCormick, a 41-year-old man from Missouri, was discovered in a remote cornfield outside of St. Louis. His death was suspicious, but investigators had little evidence to work with. Then they found something strange. Inside McCormick's pockets were 2 pages of handwritten notes filled with bizarre strings of letters, numbers, and symbols. What appeared to be a coded message. The notes were sent to the FBI's Cryptoanalysis and Racketeering Records Unit, the same specialists who analyzed spy ciphers and organized crime codes. More than 25 years later, the code still has not been cracked. On June 30th, 1999, a farmer discovered a partially decomposed body in a field near West Alton, Missouri, about 20 miles north of St. Louis. The victim was Ricky McCormick. Investigators quickly realized something about the scene didn't make sense. The location was remote and difficult to reach on foot. Detectives believed that McCormick had likely been killed somewhere else and dumped in the field days later, but Ricky McCormick didn't exactly fit the profile of someone caught up in a violent crime. He was a poor man living on disability payments, suffering from chronic health problems, including asthma and chest pain. Friends and family described him as quiet and somewhat socially isolated. In the days before his death, McCormick had actually visited 2 hospitals complaining of chest pain and breathing issues. The last confirmed sighting of him alive came on June 27th when he was seen at an Amoco gas station near his apartment. He sometimes performed small odd jobs there. The medical examiner later estimated he died around that time. When deputies searched McCormick's clothing, they discovered something unusual. In his pockets were 2 pages of handwritten notes. The pages were filled with rows of seemingly random letters, numbers, parentheses, and dashes.
Yeah.
They look something like this: WLD-NCBE, SE, NK, and long strings like PRSE 294, WLD, NCBE. To investigators, it looked like a cipher, so they sent the pages to the FBI's Cryptoanalysis and Racketeering Records Unit, often called CRRU. This is the same group that works on spy codes, organized crime ledgers, and encrypted communications used by criminal networks. The analyst immediately recognized something interesting. The notes didn't appear random. They showed patterns and structure that suggested some kind of a real system, possibly a substitution cipher, shorthand code, or personal encryption method. The FBI believed cracking the notes might reveal where McCormick had been before his death or who he'd been meeting. So they tried everything: frequency analysis, computer pattern searches, consultations with outside cryptographers. Years passed, nothing worked. Eventually, in 2011, the FBI did something pretty unusual. They publicly released the 2 coded pages and asked the public for help solving them. Thousands of amateur code breakers, puzzle enthusiasts, and professional cryptographers started working on the mystery. Some claim they solved it, but none of the proposed solutions have ever been confirmed. And here's where the case gets even stranger. McCormick's family insists that he couldn't have written a complex code at all. According to relatives, Ricky had serious literacy issues, and he struggled to read or write even basic sentences. His mother reportedly said the notes looked like meaningless scribbles and claimed that Ricky could barely write his own name. That raises an unsettling possibility. What if the notes weren't his? Some researchers think that...
What if he was just practicing writing?
Some researchers think that McCormick may have been acting as a courier, carrying coded messages for someone else involved in criminal activity. And investigators later learned that McCormick had connections to several people involved in drug trafficking around St. Louis, including individuals suspected in violent crimes. But despite these connections, police were never able to build a prosecutable case linking anyone to his death. Officially, the case remains unsolved, and the 2 pages of code remain one of the FBI's most baffling unsolved ciphers. My take? This case hits that perfect sweet spot between true crime and unsolved puzzle, because if those notes actually contain information about what Ricky was doing before he died, then somewhere inside those 2 pages might literally be the answer to this entire case. But the worst possibility, the one investigators hate, is this. What if the code means nothing at all? What if it's just some weird personal shorthand? Scribbles, like you said, he's trying to write. He's just
practicing.
Whatever. Or just notes that only made sense to Ricky himself. That's the nightmare scenario for investigators. A clue that looks incredibly important but turns out to be useless. Now, personally, the thing that bothers me most about this case is the family saying that Ricky could barely read or write. Because if that's true, you have to ask, who wrote the notes? Why were they in his pocket? Because if Ricky was carrying someone else's coded message when he died, that means that he may have been connected to something far more dangerous than people even realize. So, do you think the notes are an actual cipher that could reveal something about McCormick's death?
No.
No?
No.
Interesting. That's so interesting.
I don't know. I'm looking at it. I don't know.
I 100% do. 100%. Because here's the thing. The FBI is really good at looking at something and being like, that's bullshit. We're not even wasting our time on this. And they spent years trying to break this thing.
Maybe they were bored.
I'm sure the FBI is bored.
I'm kidding.
If Ricky really struggled with reading and writing, who might have written the notes that he was carrying?
I mean, if it's to be believed, the killer, the person who killed him, left him there.
I don't see it as like a drug network or something, though. Do you?
No.
I mean, maybe, but I don't know. It's weird to me. It's weird as shit.
I can't tell if this is people thinking they figured it out and it's what it says. Murderer Dunn said there are 10 murders in the areas.
Oh, I have no idea. We could go on all night. I didn't pay any attention to it. Which possibility is worse for investigators? An unbreakable code or a clue that turns out to mean absolutely nothing?
A clue that turns out to be absolutely nothing.
Yeah, probably so. All right, you ready for...
Most codes can be broke eventually.
Yeah, but like the last part of Zodiac's never has been. All right, you ready for weird shit number 4?
Yes.
The historical oddity. This one's so freaking cool. You ready?
Yes.
The man who lived from the Civil War to the atomic age. Albert Henry Wilson was born in 1850. He served as a Union Army drummer boy during the Civil War, and he lived long enough to see television, Elvis Presley, and nuclear weapons.
Wow.
When he died in 1956, Wilson was recognized as the last surviving Union veteran of the American Civil War. which means a man who once answered Abraham Lincoln's call to arms lived long enough to witness the Cold War and the dawn of the nuclear age. The details: Albert Henry Wilson was born on February 11th, 1850. At the time, the United States was still a young country expanding westward. Railroads were just beginning to connect distant regions, and most warfare still relied on muzzle-loading rifles, cavalry charges, and drum signals on the battlefield. When the Civil War erupted in 1861, Wilson was just a boy. Near the end of the conflict, he enlisted as a drummer boy with the 1st Minnesota Heavy Artillery Regiment. Drummer boys played an important role in Civil War armies. They transmitted battlefield commands through drum signals, and they helped maintain marching rhythm for the troops. Because Wilson joined late in the war, he never saw major combat, but he was still officially a part of the Union Army, one of the millions of soldiers who answered President Abraham Lincoln's call to preserve the United States. After the war, Wilson returned to civilian life and then spent decades working as a laborer and then later as a janitor in Duluth, Minnesota. As the years passed, Civil War veterans gradually disappeared. By the early 20th century, reunions of Union soldiers had become massive gatherings of aging men wearing faded blue uniforms. By the 1940s, only a handful of veterans were still alive. And eventually, there was just one, Albert Wilson. He became something of a national symbol, the last living member of the Union Army. He remained active in the Grand Army of the Republic, a Civil War veterans organization, and he frequently spoke at schools and public events. People treated him like a living artifact of American history, and that's where the timeline becomes surreal. When Wilson was born, Abraham Lincoln had not yet become president. The Civil War had not yet begun. Electricity was still experimental. By the time he died in 1956, the world had transformed completely.
Yeah.
During this man's lifetime, humanity went from horse-drawn wagons to jet aircraft. He lived through the invention of the telephone, the rise of radio and film, World War I, World War II, the atomic bomb, the beginning of the Cold War. And when he died at St. Luke's Hospital in Duluth on August 2nd, 1956, he was over 106 years old.
Yeah.
His funeral drew about 1,500 mourners and full military honors. One of the honorary pallbearers was the grandson of Ulysses S. Grant. President Dwight D. Eisenhower remarked that with Wilson's death, the United States had lost its final living personal link to the Civil War. The war that had once torn the nation apart was now officially beyond living memory. My take? This is one of those historical facts that completely messes with your brain, because when you think about the Civil War, it feels ancient. Black powder rifles, cavalry charges, drums and bugles. It feels like something from a totally different world. But then you realize the last Civil War veteran died in 1956, which means a man who once marched under Lincoln's command was alive when people were watching television, listening to rock and roll, and reading newspaper headlines about hydrogen bombs. That's a single human lifespan connecting two completely different eras of history. One foot in the age of bayonets and muskets, and the other in the age of nuclear weapons. History isn't always as far away as it feels. Sometimes it's just one very long life.
I really hope some people wrote down some of the stories he told.
This is unbelievably fascinating to me.
I want to listen to his stories so badly.
I never put it together. Like, I know the dates. I'm a history buff. And you really think about from the 1860s when the Civil War was to 1918 when World War I to, the 1940s. But yeah, I mean, isn't it freaking amazing?
Yeah.
I know I caught the tail end of Trump's State of the Union address, and he gave the Congressional Medal of Honor to a soldier who had fought or flew. He was an airman who flew in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. And he was over 100 years old. And I was thinking, holy shit, imagine what he had. But he was an airman in all those wars.
Yeah.
Like airplanes existed in all of those wars. Yeah. Could you imagine fighting in the Civil War and then witnessing World War II? Because World War II was pretty advanced. By that time, we had planes, we had aircraft carriers, we had submarines. Of course, they had submarines.
How?
It's fascinating, isn't it? I mean, it's fascinating to me. So what historical event feels ancient to you, but actually happened surprisingly recently?
Oh, man. There's so many of them. I mean, honestly, 9/11 feels ancient to me.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's not.
It's not, but it does feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, when we think about the change that we've gone through, like our generation, Generation X, and your Generation Y, is that right?
I don't know. I'm not that young. So. I'm not much younger than you.
But you're not a Generation Xer, because I'm right at the tail end of that. But I mean, it's neither here nor there, because what I'm getting at is what we've witnessed as our generations. It seems massive. Like we've gone from cassette tapes to digital music, and we've gone from dialing.
I am an Xer.
Are you an Xer? Oh, you're the tail end. And we've gone from, dialing the telephone on the wall to carrying one in our pockets and having, sitting at the MS-DOS computers playing Oregon Trail. And now we have, I don't know, Candy Crush or whatever the bullshit is on our phone. I mean, we think that we've seen a lot.
I had to explain to someone the other day why telephone cords, landline cords are coiled.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm old.
Yeah. I mean, it's a freaking... I
almost texted you and said, okay, fine, we're old.
And it's not going to be very long. There's not going to be telephone cords.
Yeah.
It's not going to be very long at all.
Yeah.
And, I think about like my parents' generation. Like I've said, my parents are older, and my mom grew up for a large period of her young life. She was on the oldest ranch in Wyoming, and they had outhouses. They had no electricity. They had no running water.
Yep.
And so what she has witnessed in her life, like my dad, he's 90, almost 90. Do you make
them tell you the stories? Are you documenting this stuff?
Oh, yeah. My dad tells me stories all the time, whether I want to hear them or not. So, yes. But, and they're fascinating. And you think about that change. But from, 1936, when my dad was born, to now, we had cars. There was, telephones and stuff that weren't common, but they were there. Mm-hmm. But you think about this freaking guy. Like, I mean, this one blows my mind. It seriously blows my mind.
It probably blew his mind to watch it all.
I can't even imagine. Cannot even imagine.
Like, we're sitting here going, what will happen next? And he was just watching it all.
Right? He's like, you have no freaking idea.
I know.
You have no idea. What technological change during Wolson's lifetime do you think would have seemed the most unbelievable to someone born in 1850?
I want to say flying.
I would think so too, but I think that there's a caveat, and unfortunately it's a gruesome caveat. Luckily, it doesn't sound like he saw a lot of combat, but I've been to Gettysburg, and the idea that there could be that much death and destruction from muzzle loaders to seeing the massive machine guns and artillery and tanks that we saw in World War II.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm thinking as a veteran, he would be like, the destruction
Excuse me?
Or like witnessing the atomic bombs being dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima.
Yeah.
Like the destruction. We're talking a major freaking ass whipping in the Civil War. Was like 1,000 soldiers died, and we're wiping out millions in one fell swoop. Like to me, I think it would be that. I think it would scare the shit out of me.
Yeah.
To think I was petrified of musket balls and cannonballs, and a bomb can be dropped that literally can wipe out my entire city.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can't even imagine, but I would love to have heard him tell the stories.
Oh man, I could have sat and listened to that guy talk for hours and hours and days. Like it would have been fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, shit. Wyoming wasn't even Wyoming.
Yeah. Some people think it still isn't. So
it's not. So do you think that living through that much change would be exciting or completely overwhelming?
Overwhelming.
Yeah, I think that
I'm overwhelmed now. I
am too. But I think that it's like the whole frog in boiling water type of thing.
Oh, it happens slowly so you don't jump out.
Yeah. Like one of my all-time favorite movies is Shawshank Redemption. And I think about like Brooks. And I think like if you're locked away and you miss it all.
Yeah.
And then you come out and you go in and it's all horse and carriage and everybody's, and like Brooks Hadlin in the movie, he's like, everybody went and got in such a damn hurry.
Yeah.
Because everybody's riding horses and walking everywhere. And then when he gets out, it's all cars buzzing everywhere and everything. I think that like being dropped into it would be a lot harder than
just watching
slowly watching it happen. You ready for weird shit number 5?
Sure.
Do you know what weird shit number 5 is?
The next urban legend in the line. The next
urban legend in the line. Do you know where we're at?
I don't, because I can't remember. We were in Alaska last?
Arizona last.
So I don't know where
we are in Arkansas.
Oh, this will be fun.
The Garden Light.
Picture time.
Deep in the woods of Garden, Arkansas, along an abandoned railroad corridor, people have been seeing a strange floating light for nearly a century. Witnesses describe a glowing orb that bobs, swings, and sometimes seems to follow people along the old tracks. The light can appear white, blue, green, orange, or reddish, sometimes small, sometimes distant, sometimes swelling to the size of a lantern. Locals call it the Garden Light. No one has ever been able to fully explain what it is. The phenomenon appears along a remote stretch of former railroad track outside the small town of Garden in Clark County, Arkansas. Today, the rails are gone, but the old rail bed still cuts through the woods like a narrow corridor. That's where the light appears. Witnesses often describe the same experience, a glowing orb floating a few feet above the ground, moving slowly down the old rail line like it's suspended from an invisible string. Sometimes it drifts quietly through the trees. Other times it seems to approach people, disappear, and then reappear somewhere else along the track. Reports of the light go back to at least the 1930s, long before nearby highways or modern developments could explain the phenomenon. Over the decades, the Garden Light has appeared in television specials, paranormal documentaries, and even an episode of Unsolved Mysteries. And of course, there are ghost stories. Lots of them. The most common legend involves a railroad worker who was decapitated by the train while working on the line. According to the story, his head was never recovered. The floating light is said to be the lantern that he carried, still searching the tracks at night. Another version ties the phenomenon to a real murder in 1931. A railroad foreman named William McLean got into a dispute with a worker named Louise McBride during the economic hardships of the Great Depression. One night near the tracks, McBride ambushed McLean and killed him with a shovel and a spike hammer. McBride later confessed and was executed in 1932. They didn't mess around back then.
Nope.
Not long after the killing, locals began reporting a strange floating light along the same stretch of the railroad. Some say the light is McLean's ghostly lantern still patrolling the tracks where he died. Others say it's the spirit of the murdered foreman searching for justice. But there are also attempts at scientific explanations. Some people believe that the light might be car headlights reflecting through the trees from distant roads. Others suggest swamp gas, where gases from decaying vegetation ignite in small bursts. Another theory involves piezoelectric quartz in the local rock formations. Certain types of quartz can produce faint electrical discharges when stressed. potentially creating glowing atmospheric effects, sometimes called earth lights. The problem is none of these explanations completely fit the observations. The light often appears where there's no line of sight to any road. It shows up in cold weather, which does not match the swamp gas behavior, and its movement sometimes seems almost intentional, approaching people before drifting away again, which leaves the Gurdon light sitting in that strange gray zone, a phenomenon that clearly exists, but no one can fully explain. My take? This is one of my favorite kinds of mysteries because everybody agrees on one thing. This freaking thing is real. Even the skeptics who think that there's a scientific explanation will tell you people genuinely see something out there. The debate is not whether the light appears, it's about what it is. And the setting definitely helps out with the legend. You're standing in the woods, on an old railroad bed, in rural Arkansas, at night. Suddenly, you see a floating light moving down the track towards you. At that point, your brain immediately goes, ghost. Now, could it be some weird reflection, electrical phenomenon, or natural atmospheric effect? Sure. But if I'm out there and a glowing orb starts floating down the tracks toward me, I'm not waiting around to solve the physics of it. I'm leaving immediately, because if the ghost of the railroad worker is still walking those tracks with a lantern, he can keep them. So, do you think lights like the Gurdon light are paranormal or some kind of natural phenomenon we just don't fully understand yet?
I love them and I want them to be paranormal.
I think it's paranormal. Like, I don't know, maybe one day some scientist is going to be like, this is what it is. But for right now, we have failed. We have failed miserably. Like, none of the shit that they suggest even is logically remotely close to me. It's like, oh yeah, bullshit. It is not that. Try again. So yeah, I'm totally on the paranormal side of this one. So why do glowing lights show up in so many ghost stories all around the world?
Because they're the best. Glowing lights are the best lights.
Well, and if you believe in anything paranormal, which you know I do, I think that there is some reality that it's easier to manifest as a ball of light than it is like a full body apparition. Yeah. Like, I think you got to read the whole book in Beetlejuice before you could figure out the whole body apparition.
Yes.
You know, like Gina Davis and the other dude.
You're not just drawing a door and you know everything.
And they could tear their faces off and what's her name couldn't even see them. So you got to practice that shit. It takes a while.
It does.
But I mean, I really think that there's something to that, or maybe they don't even materialize that way, but it is just the energy is visible as a glowing orb
because
or whatever.
They have to draw so much of it.
Right. Now, I do have a bit of an issue with like the whole orbs in pictures thing, because I mean, come on.
Bugs, dust.
We've all caught orbs in freaking, well, maybe not everybody, but a lot of us have caught orbs in pictures, and I've never been like, oh my God, it's a ghost. I've been like, what the hell was on the lens? Or what the hell, you know, like, I don't know. I just don't buy all that shit. So would you walk down those abandoned tracks at night to see if the light appears?
Not alone, but yes.
I probably would too. Yeah. And then I'd probably run like a little scared little girl if it did. But yeah, I'd probably go checking it out.
This is why I wouldn't do it alone. But I don't do a lot of things.
You don't do anything alone.
I do things alone. I just don't do things like
creepy,
that alone.
Scary things alone.
If I could run better.
Fair point. Fair point. All right, that's all I put together for us. So do you have anything you want to add?
I don't.
All right, so that is Shadow Chat sessions for this week.
Shadow Chat?
Did I? Yeah, you had to call me out on it, didn't you?
I did. I love it. I'm pretty sure you'd call me out too.
That is Shadow Chat sessions for this week. Tonight, we covered the AI police report that accidentally turned a Utah officer into a Disney amphibian, a conspiracy theory about ancient settlers in New Zealand that turned out to be mostly colonial storytelling, one of the darkest missing child rabbit holes in America, 3 criminals who desperately needed to log off the internet, a Norwegian lake monster with its own municipal branding department, a Pennsylvania demon case that somehow turned into a Hollywood franchise, an unsolved murder with a cipher the FBI still can't crack, a Civil War drummer boy who lived long enough to see Elvis and hydrogen bombs, and a haunted lantern wandering railroad tracks in Arkansas. So yeah, completely normal episode.
Yep.
If you enjoyed this week's descent into educational instability, do the responsible thing. Hit follow, hit subscribe, click whatever button your podcast platform uses to legally bind you to this nonsense. Leave a 5-star review because apparently the algorithm gods demand ritual praise before they'll allow new listeners to discover the show. If you leave fewer than 5 stars, at least make the criticism creative so that I can read it dramatically on the air and question your life choices. Share the show with a friend, preferably the one who sends you conspiracy videos at 2 a.m, the one who swears they could survive a month in the wilderness with a knife and a granola bar, or the one who still says things like, I'm just asking questions.
And a gum wrapper. You forgot the gum wrapper.
I did forget the gun wrapper. Follow us on social media so that you can watch the research spiral happen in real time. If you want bonus content, behind the scenes chaos, or early access to episodes, check the links in the show notes. Patreon memberships, all the places where you can support the show and help us keep doing whatever this is. And if you miss an episode, don't worry. We've apparently started a 50-state urban legend tour, which means things are only going to get weirder from here. So as always, don't argue with the police on Facebook. Don't log into social media while committing burglary. Don't try to collect the reward on your own wanted poster. And if you see a floating lantern walking down an abandoned railroad track in Arkansas, maybe just let it finish its patrol.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week. Stay weird.
Stay safe.